Have you ever had an idea that seems impossible, like a distant dream, but something you strive towards? Maybe this idea started when you were just a kid. As a younger kid, like most kids, I played a lot of video games. There was always something intriguing about entering another world. In other worlds, you could do everything. I always wondered how video games were made, but it was a huge topic to cover. When I was a junior in high school, I worked on a video game with a friend for a project. This was my first taste of game development, which I had never done before. During that project, I worked on the sprites while my friend worked on the development. This time, I would be on my very own, doing the sprites, coding, all the works in one package. The question for me was, how can I learn about game development, and how can I make this playable? Whee! So, this is the game. I know it doesn't look like much, but this is what I made. This is actually the demo, but I have only the demo, so I guess this is the full version. Unless I decide to pick up where I left off, which I might. So here's basically the basics. It's A and D to walk left and to walk right. Spaces to jump. And that's it. There could have been definitely more buttons put in, but that would be a lot more work. And also work I didn't know how to do very well. So this is just kind of a clunky, very weird, but it is playable. And that's something I am proud of, because this is the first time I've actually made something playable ever. What about my game is it is a platformer. A platformer is a video game like Super Mario, the original one from 1985, which is just Mario jumping from platform to platform over pits, on top of Goombas. Just honestly a great time. I was supposed to make a 2D platformer because 2D platformers I think are the easiest to make. A sprite is a game object. It's a game asset. Sprites are the only asset I know how to make pretty well, so I decided to make a video game that would kind of work with me in that regard. And plus, the previous game we made was a platformer as well, so that helps. So the game is programmed in C#, which is a programming language, high-level programming language. It's Microsoft's software development programming language, and it also is what Unity uses to script its games, so that's why I chose C#. I decided to use Unity because Unity is easiest, and Unity has tons of tutorials. And also, my friend Juan works with Unity, and I could obviously use him for help, which I did. The first phase for me was the learning phase. I needed to learn so much before I could even start. This would be my first time using C#, Unity, and so much more. The learning phase took the most amount of time because I was very green in the world of programming. I needed to figure out the tools before I could use them. The first place I went was Code Academy. Code Academy is an online learning website with many beginner-friendly courses, and I had used Code Academy in the past, so I thought, why not use it again? Here's Code Academy here, and here is the course that I used here. It's completely free. All you need to do is make an account. I also used many different YouTube tutorials on Unity, mainly using Brackeys, because he is very knowledgeable and has been coding for over 10 years in game development, as well as his videos as being very useful. They're very good. As I went through phase 1, I would try to do things I learned so I could apply it to my project and other things down the road, perhaps. Alright, now on to phase 2. Phase 2 was asset creation or sprites that would be used in the game. I've already worked with creating sprites, so this was the easy part for me. I used a software called Sprite to make my sprites and animations. Sprite is a software made specifically for pixel art. I threw a bunch of ideas around for what I was going to make the game look like. A new tile set, a new background, and much more. Here's 5 character designs I came up with, but I ended up going with this one. And here's the background I decided to go with. This took a while for me because I've never really worked with backgrounds, but it still was a lot easier than the coding. I've worked with tile sets before, so the tile set was not difficult. These here are some items I was planning on putting in the game, but unfortunately, I ran out of time. Phase 3 was next, and it was a chore. Phase 3 was the development phase, where I would use Unity to build, code, and create the game. I had to constantly reference YouTube, and I kept going back to my friend Juan for help because he knew how to use Unity from our previous projects. Okay. So this is the character controller, which is basically most of the code. It's what allows the character to run around and move around and jump around and do whatever. I really had a lot of trouble with the character controller. It was a very big pain in the keyser. The character is really the whole thing. Throughout my capstone project, learning and applying was my best friend. The product of my capstone project was a small demo game with a few platforms to move around to. This was the first game I made alone. Well, I did have a lot of help. 3 takeaways for me. Look forward to the journey, not the end. You learn a lot during the journey, like I did. What you learn can apply later in life, later in different projects. It's very useful. It's a skill, not something you physically have, so you really can't lose it. Another thing to take away, apply what you learn or it won't stick. I am a victim of this. I have learned a lot and forgotten a lot because I didn't apply it, so you need to make sure to really nail that knowledge in, to apply it to something. Do it. Just do it. The third thing I'd take away is to have fun with your work, because then it won't even feel like work in the first place. If you have a job but you enjoy it, is it even work? Are you doing a hobby for someone else? My parents have always told me that just try to get a job that you'll love, because then you'll do it no matter what. To conclude, my journey to make a game was definitely tough, but so is real life. Making something isn't always about the product. It's about the lessons you learn, the long nights, the frustration, everything. Just like real life.